evening, and welcome to another Super Secret Project sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X. I think I've missed a joke.
No, when I was setting up my pad here, it fell over and hit me in the boob.
Oh. Oh. Computer boob ambush. That always gets you.
Yeah, I was setting up the stand and just pop.
I've had a few of those in my days. Trying to do the do, and then, and you're like, oh, my man boob.
I boob.
I boob. Anywho. Today we are doing Kay from the Dirty Pair. I've done her before, but to be honest, I was not happy with it. And they just started showing the first season of Dirty Pair on Retro Crush. Retro Crush. I almost get that right. Too many commercials, but what are you going to do? I finally get to watch Dirty Pair again. I should probably see about, actually picking it up at some point in time. It's a good series. It's one of my favorite ones. And Kay and Yuri are two fun characters, and Kay in particular is a fireball, and I love her, and she's just funny. And of the grand multitudes of anime action girls, I gotta say, Dirty Pair is probably top on my list, if not very close to. I'm not sure who else would beat them, but there might be some others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the ones that you introduced me to, as far as like actually getting into anime, because I was into it, and I was watching some of the, at the time, mainstream stuff. Then I had stuff that I had watched that came on local televisions, channels and stuff. But that was one of the first ones that you introduced me to. I was like, this is really fun. Yeah.
Well, it's what I like about the Dirty Pair is it's not that it was exactly revolutionary. It's just that it was designed to be really fun and not stupid.
Yeah.
Some of it was kind of smartly written. Some of it was just really dumb jokes. But it didn't treat you like you were dumb. It was like, no, this is a sci-fi show, but it's a fun sci-fi show. It's like, oh, I can have fun and be silly and not be treated like an idiot. What a great idea.
That also has a special place in my heart, because that was the very first time one of the very first characters I cosplayed. I cosplayed Kay with another friend of ours, and supposed to be another friend who was going to cosplay Yuri, but I'm not sure what happened. I don't think she was able to make it to that convention.
Yeah, something happened. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Yeah, but that was my very first time cosplaying, and that I've always loved dressing up in costumes and stuff, and so that kind of hit me in the cosplay junk, and I was like, this is really fun. But yeah, it was a good intro into a lot of things for me.
Oh, the thing about Dirty Pair is, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, I'm saying this it wasn't revolutionary. You understood everything you saw. It's just that they did a nice job putting it together. It was classic kind of space action and laser guns and almost nothing with aliens. Mostly just people, and just fun. And the thing that I liked about it was you would get some pretty good stories, and then Kay and Yuri was just super fun or super silly, or like they were sort of caddish is not always correct. Sometimes it is, but they were the kind of 19-year-old girls who were just sort of like being caddish towards each other, or kind of mean to each other, but they clearly liked each other.
Well, they were in the sense they were doing the whole friend sister thing,
Yeah.
They obviously cared and loved each other, and they were partners as well, and but yeah, they can get on each other's nerves as sisters do.
And
but
it's
still also like really just cared for each other and had each other's backs and stuff.
But that's what I'm saying is that in combination with the fact that they actually were really good at what they did. It's just they were also 19 year olds who were kind of immature every once in a while, slash horrific disasters follow them wherever they go. They didn't actually show them being stupid. Okay, every once in a while you'd be something like you're going like, well, that's ill-advised, but most of the time they're doing their job really well, you know. I mean, just no ifs, ands, or buts. They're doing their job really well,
Yeah.
and then a planet would explode, or something, and
Yeah, they were, and since it was the '80s, they were doing the whole trope of just them being kind of boy crazy and all that, and, which it didn't play into a lot of stuff, but when
it wasn't
did,
bad. It was there probably at roughly the right amount.
Yeah, and when it did, it was there.
Oh
but
yeah, but
thankfully it wasn't nearly as bad as stuff that I've seen before,
sure.
where it was just like, come on.
Well,
Really.
well, that's the thing is stuff like being boy crazy and that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's when that is all they're doing. That is when there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, they didn't make it their personality.
No, and what I loved is there were even moments where it was kind of like James T. Kirk or James Bond when they would go after the hot chick. Sometimes it was like that where they were going after the hot dude. And it was actually kind of fun at times. But they by no means did it all the time, and I think that's what's really, really important.
Yeah, I appreciated that because it was a trope that even back then was just played out and little and just annoying.
Yeah, that's the thing is a lot of that stuff would be fine if they would just tone it down, and then nobody thinks about it when it's toned down.
Yeah, or either just not make it the character's entire personality.
Yeah,
It's
that's a big one.
It's like in the '80s with a lot of shows, not just American shows, how the fat kid was always going for food and making food jokes and what are we gonna eat? This is like, can we have something more to their personality other than being a human consumption machine?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and the thing is I have been battling weight my entire life. I'm doing pretty good right now, but that's a hard struggle, and it's not like that necessarily bothered me when I was younger, but it was also like you didn't get anything out of it either. So I can see some kids being bothered by that, but on the same note, it's like it doesn't really do much. And so if you have like a big guy who's just like, every once in a while is like into eating or whatever, that's fine. I know skinny people into eating, so it's like, yeah, just pull it. But that's what I mean about the dirty pair. The vast majority of the time, that silly stuff was kind of toned down. And they were like, no, at the end of the day, it's we have to do the characters, which weren't super deep characters. I'm not saying that they were, but we got to do the characters, and we have to have an interesting story or a plot or an idea. Like, there was one, and every single time I watch it, I always go like, man, this is kind of out of the ordinary even today, is they, like the son of a multi-trillionaire, basically, who owns this huge mega corporation, like, the dirty pair are hired to come in, and he's been, to keep an eye on him because like this horrible woman who's going to marry him is actually like this kidnapper, horrible kind of person, and the dad's trying to stop it. As it turns out, this guy and this girl are completely in love, and the dad doesn't like his wife to be because she used to be a man. And he's just and the whole plot actually was the father was plotting against them, and he was using the dirty pair against them with a bunch of tricks and stuff. And it was kind of, you hit this moment where you go, so like the dirty pair, which have these moments where they were going like, they were like, oh, she's kind of an ugly chick, isn't she? And I actually thought the character design was okay, was a little handsome-ish, but a decent-looking lady. But the dirty pair, they were almost even being mean. And I was going like, wow. But when the situation came out, they kind of stopped. And they were like, leave these two alone. Let them do whatever they want. And what was really funny was, oh, funny, but funny in a way that you don't normally see on shows, especially in the mid 80s. I can't remember if it was Kay or Yuri that said it, but she's like, yeah, 10% of the population on average has had this done. No one cares. Why do you care? And this is still like a big deal today.
Yeah.
And this was 1985 when this came out, so they had these moments that are kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting.
It's slightly progressive, yeah.
Well, progressive this or that, bare minimum, it was atypical. Here's the idea.
Right.
You know, we're not. They could have done 1,000 different things to do the same plot. That's what I like about the Dirty Pair. I'm not saying it was the greatest show ever. I'm just saying it was a good show. Like, and you had a bunch of different stories that, you know, very few of them resembled each other. There were really funny ones. There were really silly ones. There were serious ones. There were ones with really good ideas. There was a couple really sad ones too, and you know, it just a good show, you know, and I kind of felt like of all the things that could have just kept going, the Dirty Pair would be one of them. You know, like I'd figured when I was young, the Dirty Pair would still be going today, like today, and it kind of just died out, and I'm like, well, okay, that's a shame, but it was a really great vehicle for like sci-fi stories, and the characters were fun, and it just sort of had its own thing it was doing, and
Well, I think once they tried it with Dirty Pair Flash, and that didn't do very well. I think they just kind
well,
of
they basically turned them into magical girls, which was a weird decision.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'm sorry, but the Dirty Pair is better than. And this is nothing against people who like magical girl stuff. Their stuff is legitimate. But if you wanted me to pick between the Dirty Pair and any magical girl series, I'm sorry, I'm going to go for Dirty Pair. And you know, it's so because I'm not magical girl stuff is fine, but I just much prefer something like Dirty Pair. Yeah, his face is feeling a little better.
Yeah.
The last one I did was okay, but it didn't. It wasn't great. It was okay. It wasn't great. This one's already feeling better. I think I was just lacking some of the proper personality.
I'd say that at the time you hadn't seen a lot of the Dirty Pair again, because now you've been able to be watching a lot of it and stuff. He wasn't getting the mojo in.
Very likely, yeah. Well, and the thing is the Dirty Pair, the original series at least, it had changed styles a little bit over the years, but the original series had this really nice style to it, and it was a classic mid '80s anime style. And I can see why it fell out of favor because it was kind of a mid '80s style. But regardless, it was still a great style. And there's moments in the animation where you stop and you just go, that. Okay, I realize I'm using the word style a lot, but you're like, that is a really when it was drawn really well, like the style just really came through, and the way they put the faces together and did expressions and stuff. It was really nice. It's just really super, super nice. And I'm not going to do the snob thing of, my stuff from my time period is better than the new stuff. But there's definitely moments where you stop and go, wow. And Dirty Pair is one of the ones where I went, this was on TV. Like, there's a number of episodes where I kind of wanted to stop and start doing screen captures because, like, what they had illustrated was really, really nice. And I was like, oh, wow, I could learn a few things from this frame, you know.
There's a meme that I saw. I actually saved it. It's a 2-panel meme of Kay and Yuri just sitting there looking really serious, and they're like something along the lines of, and we just blew up an entire space system, and
They do that.
Yeah, and they're just like just recounting all the stuff they did, and then the next panel is them with these goofy looks on their faces as they're laughing.
Well, the funny thing is that one of the episodes they kind of actually did that. We played it last night when we were hanging out, and there's to my recollection, the first episode where they actually blew a planet up by accident ended, which was really funny. It ended with them kind of like nervously laughing, and then it went to a frame which was a pink background with a heart, and the dirty pair sitting there going like this, and you're just going, and it didn't do it for a second. It sat there for like 5 or 6 seconds as they're like, "Aren't we cute? We just killed millions," and you're just going like, "Oh my god!" Like,
80s freeze frame.
yes, and it's just so funny, and
I helped.
and I helped, yeah. The funny thing is, and I know this is not everybody, but there's people that kind of make fun of the early days where the hair was really huge and out of control.
That was the 80s.
Well, and that was it was 70s too, but the 80s, yeah.
They took it to the extreme in the 80s.
Well, and the thing is in the Japanese are known for it, period, but they were more so then. And I maintain that some of these dudes that were animating this stuff just was really good at making really beautiful lines, and just with a really great flow. And even after just decades of drawing all sorts of different kinds of characters and stuff, I still have moments where I'm going like, man, if I had those dudes' hands, because they were animating, they were doing 24 frames a second or whatever, and you're going like, jeez, like to be able just to do,
have that superpower.
yeah, it's kind of a superpower. You're like, man, and I realized that they were probably like smoking like in a dark animation office for 20 hours at a time, just doing the nose to the grindstone thing that the archetypal Japanese artist is known for doing. But yeah, just you look at some of the line artwork they produced, and like face, guns, yeah, no joke. But one of the things I have a real appreciation for is when they do the hair, and you're just seeing these speed motions that are so beautiful. And yeah, yes, there were crap frames, not even gonna argue, but when it was really good, it was just spectacular, like gorgeous flows and whips, and
You're just like, how do they do that?
I know.
Yeah, it's always just amazing just to sit and just watch the technical with that, and just with being an artist, just like, okay, you in a sense you know how they're doing it, but it's still that magic
Sure.
of just watching it, just like, wow.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of people that don't draw or don't do artwork, they want to know the secret, and they don't actually want to know the secret because there is one, and it's so not satisfactory to hear. It is just muscle memory from 50,000 lines just over and over and over and over. And the reason why I'm not getting my normal lines in like I normally do, that I can kind of do that with, is I'm trying to roughly replicate what the original character design did. And there's just lovely.
Would you say it's a lovely angel?
You could say it's a lovely angel. You could say that. You dork. My lovely dork. I love you, you doofus. Jesus. That sucked, honey. That was terrible. That was.
Everybody having a good time? Well, I'll soon change that.
Lashida dad joke wailing. Yeah, yeah. Woo! That was a stinker, sweetie. don't know where that came from. Just wait, kids. I just started sucking. Suck. Like one of my favorite tips of all time, and it's so simple, and everyone's like, oh, how do you get the lines to like line up, or how do you get the circles in the eyes to be just right, or blah blah blah. My answer is simple. It's like on the collar here. You see how I'm drawing the collar up on the screen? And they're like, how do you make both sides of the collar line up? It's like, oh, it's simple. Whoop. You draw the line behind the neck, and then you erase it, and that way you know for a fact the line will always line up.
Yeah, that's...
And people are just like, oh, it's not a magic trick, guys. This is just like building a birdhouse. It's just the skills are a little different,
Yeah, the amount of people I've talked to regarding that, and basically it's just called draw through, and you just
no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess I never thought to ask what it was called. You just do it.
It's just something that we do. It's you just because you draw through stuff. It's a draw through. So it's like, that's literally how you do it. Like the amount of people who are just afraid to break the lines in a sense, and it's like,
well, that's what your erasers are for.
Yeah, and that's what when I would
pencil line artwork is not sacred. You could do whatever you want to.
Yeah, well, in a sense, no artwork is sacred because you can just sit there and you'll do something and all of a sudden just scratch it up.
The moment somebody tells you that you're supposed to follow these rules, stop listening to that person because they have no clue what they're talking about.
Right.
I've been dealing with people in an actual studio for years. Now, it's not an animation studio or anything, but still, it's an art and design studio. It's a real place. And the people that think they know what they're talking about and give you the worst possible, and it's not me being mean, it's just you hit a point where you're going like, no, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. You've come up with some rule that you think is super, super, super important, and it only exists in your head. It only exists there. That's the only place where it is. It doesn't exist anywhere else, and I'm not going to follow it. I'm sorry. It's a waste of my time.
When it comes to being an artist, you learn rules so you learn how to break them.
That is exactly. The rules are there so you understand when you can break them. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, and there are some rules where it's like, okay, it's wise to do this. But
sometimes, yeah.
But for the most part, art is subjective and so are rules.
Yeah, it's really a waste of a lot of people's time and energy to follow so many rules. Like the sheer number of art experts that are in social media where I go through and listen to their tips, and sometimes I hit a moment where I'm like, dude, you are a guru, or ma'am, you are amazing, what a great idea. Right. But most of the time I'm going like, did your kindergarten teacher tell you that? What are you doing? Why are you bothering to do that?
Yeah.
Why don't you do half the work in half the time? Why are you going through all these extra unnecessary steps?
Yeah, and I think with a lot of people with that, they see a professional, and that professional tells them this is how it's done.
And there might have been a reason at one point for it.
It must be right because they are successful, quote unquote successful. One of the ones I remember hearing, and I actually spoke to several people about this. It was a long time ago. I was talking with a bunch of artists and younger artists and all that, and they were asking me, well, what do you do, and how do you do? And so we just had like a little,
what do you do? How do you do?
Just had an art powwow, and I remember one of them telling me that a particular professor or somebody who was a artist that they were learning from told them when it comes to drawing the body and drawing things and all that, no, you can't use shapes. You're not. And I was like, wait, what?
What?
And I was like, wait, and I actually stopped.
Shapes is one of the best ways of doing it.
I was actually confused because I was like, wait, so then how do you draw?
So how do you draw?
And so they're just like, they're like, yeah.
I spray my mind juice onto the page,
well,
but it
like,
can't form a shape.
Well, they were saying whoever this person was, they would sit there and just like almost not I want to say contour draw, which for anybody who may be listening, contour drawing is basically drawing something in all one line, in a one continuous line, never lifting your pencil off the paper.
It's nothing wrong with
It's a
that,
skill.
but you're still forming shapes.
Yeah, but basically they were like just drawing, and I'm like, so I was like, okay, well, I was like, well, how? So I stopped them and I was like, wait, so how do you suppose things are made? And I was like, how do you do things? How do you put your lines onto paper? And they're like, well, it takes me a long time because I'm trying to draw what I'm seeing. And I was like, well, breaking. I was like, and I told them, I just stopped. I was like, look around you. Every single thing you see is made up of basic shapes.
Yeah, everything.
And I literally, I held up my hand.
Lines too.
Yeah, and I held up my hand, and I was like, look, I was like, your hand is a square or a rectangle. Your fingers are long rectangles or
Little toilet paper tubes, or pick your favorite.
Yeah, I told, and I broke it down, and by the time I finished, they were just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, yeah, there's, like, this is going to take a lot of, like, this is going to cut your time down probably in half, if not by 2/3, because you're so focused on making lines, you're not seeing the objects.
And the thing is I think I know what the guy was talking about. There's he was kind of trying to break certain things in the person so they could rebuild back up again. There's some logic to it, and it works. But ultimately speaking, if you're doing like cartooning or whatever, and line is law in cartooning, but anyone that goes back to the beginning of this video saw that I was putting down circles and boxes and blah blah blah, and if I was doing something really complicated, I would really be I'm like, okay, tube here, this there, because you don't want to sit there and draw an arm then find out that your arm is in the wrong position.
Yeah.
So you want to draw it in quick shapes and get it figured out, and then start going in and then worry about the lines. And I kind of skipped through some of that because I'm used to it, and I kind of went for the lines because I'm trying to specifically replicate what I'm seeing on this model sheet. But
when it comes down to it, that's when you have the artist who draws like a fantastic eyeball, but doesn't know how to draw the rest of the face.
And the thing is those kinds of artists have their use.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But ultimately speaking, it's like, you know what? I'd rather just get my job done, because I've known artists that I'm having a hard time describing, or because I don't want to take anything away from them, but they're doing something that I don't get, and I'm not sure that it's worth it. It's like religious ritual is wrong, but they've like ritualized the steps, so it's doing the steps is important, or we're doing all these extra things for blank reason, and then you go like, okay, you get two identical drawings, and one takes you 20 minutes and the other one takes you an hour and a half. Same drawing at the end. Which one do you want to do? I want to do the one that takes 20 minutes because I can make 2 or 3 more in the rest of the time, put on some heavy metal music or whatever, and just have a good time. Or I could really labor and, bleed for my art. I'm like, nah, I'd rather eat. I'd rather pay my bills.
Yeah, and if you're just doing it for the sake of exploration, you know what?
Sure, no, that's fine.
That's perfectly fine.
Exploration is important.
Yeah, it's very important, very crucial towards art and all. But I mean, if you got a job that you got to do,
you got to get it done. You got to get done, duder.
Dude, you got to do.
Got to get done, duder. It is okay.
Been magical most of the day. Tummy's been a little googly.
I've been fighting a nap all day. I have successfully not napped, but I tell you what, early on, my brain was going like, dude, you're gonna snooze! And I'm like, no! I want to get my writing and drawing and stuff done. Maybe play a video game or two. No, you're gonna snooze, dude! Oh, don't snooze, Eric, don't snooze. Oh, I didn't snooze.
Oh, that was me earlier when, like, after we had breakfast and stuff, and I was like, oh, Tommy's feeling a little, not feeling so great, and I just laid on the couch. I'm like, no, don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
Don't fall asleep. And I think I dozed, but I didn't go to sleep.
The artist's enemy. I'll just take a quick nap. Artist's enemy, A number one.
Oh, there's one
Don't
guy
nap.
I follow on Twitter. He was one of the artists for the Sonic comics way back in the day. Really fun guy. His name is John Gray. And he was like saying like he's like yeah yesterday he's like I went to my back room to organize the pillows on my couch, and then,
To reorganize the pillows on my couch.
yeah he was like yeah because
That sounds like a euphemism or something. Gonna go rearrange the pillows on my couch.
well, he was cleaning up his house and then
Oh, yeah, no, just I'm gonna shellac the cat. My God, what the hell does that mean? That sounds horrible. What's
anyway,
wrong
the
with
story I
you?
was trying to tell
Oh, you're telling me things and I'm ruining it.
was basically he was like he's like yeah he's like I pretty much just like the entire like half the day was gone. He's like sometimes your body just tells you no you need a nap.
Sometimes that's
And he
true.
was like yeah
Sometimes it is.
I went to the back room and just fixing up the couch and he's like next thing I know it's like he's like where'd the day go?
Well, my favorite one, I think it was at the beginning of the summer, I think. Anyways, it was, I think, within a year. But I was just stretched out on the lazy boy, and I was going to do something or whatever, but I'm like, I'm just take a minute and stretch out. I wasn't really sleepy, but I was just going like, yes. And then you opened the sliding glass door, and the most heavenly nap air came in.
Yes.
And I was going like, wow, that's really relaxing, blah, blah, blah. And then I woke up from the hardest nap I have had in a long time, and I didn't even know where I was.
I remember you were out to the world. Oh
And
my
it was
goodness.
within like 2 or 3 minutes. It was
Yeah.
fast. It was like somebody hit me on the head with a rock.
Yeah, you were.
I must have
out.
been tired.
Yeah, because I mean I looked over at you. Yeah, and it was about 2 or 3 minutes. And I mean your glasses were still on, but I mean you were just like head to the side.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich just like on my chest.
Slowly sliding down.
Damn it, Eric. You and the PB&Js.
I was like, hey, that's your chest hair, not mine.
That's why I have the special PB&J t-shirt, just in case. PB&J nap happens. You gotta watch for that.
Yeah, I think I walked over and took your glasses off, and I don't even think you moved. I don't think you shifted that entire time you were out. You were just.
Well, the last night, not this is exactly a nap, but you know how you're kind of getting ready for bed and you're watching stuff and you kind of snooze off sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I snoozed off when I was what was I watching? Something fun. I snoozed off during which I was like, no, I didn't snooze during the blank, whatever it was. Then I woke up and I'm like, okay, I gotta go to bed, because you're half asleep and you're like totally going to get right back to sleep once you go to bed after that. Anyways, yes, I have hearing aids. I'm that old. One hearing aid is in. The other one is gone.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm get up and I'm like going to put my... And so when I got up in the morning, it was super dark. And so like I don't know, like a burglar in an 80s movie or something. I had my phone out for like the flashlight. And I'm looking around going like, where's my other hearing aid? Seriously, I had a where is my hearing aid moment. But I'm going like, I must have been like...
Yeah, I'm trying to I think when we were going by, I even asked you, it's like, hey, don't forget to take your ears out. And
I never know when I'm going to just lose consciousness, so I have a hard time planning for that.
So, I think, so what were we? Because we were watching the Jeff Goldblum thing, and then you switched off to something else afterwards.
Love him, he's such a weird dude.
Yeah, and I think I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed, and then you were just out, and then we just started like, okay, let's just go to bed.
Yeah, so far I've really enjoyed Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum. Bloom's World. That's not right.
It's
Whatever it is.
it's,
Except for the video game episode, he just does not understand video games at all. And you could just, and it was painful to watch because you could see him really struggling.
he was trying.
Like he was totally trying, but you could just tell he completely was out of his element. And it was so difficult to watch. I was like, oh, dude, this is uncomfortable. I can't watch this. Then he walks into a LARPing situation. I'm going like, I'm done. I'm skipping past this episode.
Cringe. You can feel the cringe.
And it's nothing against LARPers. I used to do it myself, but you just go like, I don't need Jeff Goldblum dealing with this right now. This is just too. This is I'm trying to relax. It was because you know how twitchy and weird he is. Like him being uncomfortable and twitchy and weird on top of him being twitchy and weird is a weird thing to watch.
Yeah, and I'm still cracked up. Like the one episode I would have gotten really into. Cause the most episodes they've been all right. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was interesting watching all. And then some I just kind of drifted off on.
Yeah, some of them are better than others.
Yeah, but the one I really would have been interested in is the one I completely missed was the dance one. I was like, I'm gonna go brush my teeth and prep myself and get ready for bed, put my jammies on and do all this stuff and come out and he's dancing. Like, wait, what is? I completely missed. Like, oh well, I'll catch it at some point again.
Well, what I was trying to do, because I don't know anything about dance, I don't know anything about fashion, I don't know anything about makeup or jewelry, and so they had episodes on that stuff. So I'm like, well, let me see what they've got to say. And I got to admit, I still don't really get it. But I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's a perspective. You know, it's like they had witches on one of them, and you're going like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the
you believe you're a psychic medium or whatever. I'm like, that's neat.
To each his own.
To each their own. But I was just going like, that's like fashion and stuff to me. I'm going like, okay, I mean, let me go back to drawing my cartoon characters. I get it. Some people view me as being a huge loser because that I don't care. I just don't get that stuff. I've tried. I don't get it.
And it's not for you to get. So honestly, simple as that. It's like,
Well, to bring it back to the Dirty Pair. Like the Dirty Pair, when they're not wearing their vinyl space action outfits, quite often are wearing, a couple outfits were okay, but most of them are horrific 80s sci-fi outfits where I just look at it and I just go like, man, somebody thought that was a good-looking outfit to put Kay in. And it's just like, woof. And that's what fashion looks like to me. Is always like every single movie that everyone points at and laughs at and goes, I can't believe they wore that. And I'm going like, you're doing that right now, right? That 20 years from now, somebody's going to be looking at the stuff you're wearing right now, doing the exact same. You get to a point where I'm like,
And it's not even 20 years anymore.
It's not even more like, it's more like about 2 or 3
5
years.
10, yeah. It's funny, they were like right now.
Do you remember when everyone did the Naruto run? It's just like, yeah.
It's like right now, there's just been this influx of people just really getting into 90s clothing and 90s and 2000s clothing.
Some of the clothing was neat. Some of it sucked.
Well, me being coming of teenager time into the 90s and all, I love the fashion and clothing. But I didn't like the super flu stuff. I liked the urban clothing. I liked a lot of the
loose urban clothing from that time period. Some of that was pretty good.
Yeah, I love the colors and the looseness and just the freedom of the way it looked.
The looseness is one of the things that I really liked.
And I love the color, like, because that's when you started getting like the super colorful designs for like the gym shoes and stuff. And I love that, and I love the whole just being able to just like express yourself through all of that just fun, flowy kind of thing. I loved a lot of that stuff. And I mean, it's funny seeing people who either were babies or weren't even alive at that time, trying to imagine what that stuff was based off of pictures and videos and stuff, and like those of us who were there were like,
We're like, I was trying to forget that.
no, a lot of
What
us
are you doing?
a lot of us were just looking, going, this is cute. Let's see how close they get. It's like, oh, they tried, and then some of them do a pretty good job of getting close with a lot of it, and it's like, yeah, seeing people doing 80s aesthetic stuff, and they're like 20, 25 years old, and I'm just like, huh.
But you realize that was ugly a long time ago, right?
And
I mean, that's butt ugly. That is ugly as a butt.
it's an interesting phenomenon, because it's like how it's seeing it. I'm finally understanding how, like, my older sisters, my mom and stuff, how they witnessed how they felt when our group was trying to do stuff from like the 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
and
because
like
it's so silly.
it's like seeing it now, it's being romanticized and fantasized, and it's like, for those of us who were there during that time period, it's just like it's like, it's a nice try, but like, it's like seeing the seeing the fantasy aspect of it. It's just like, huh, that's interesting that you think that's what it was like. And it's like, again, if that's what you want to make the fantasy, the
You
fantasy
want to
tale
do the
about,
thing, you go do the thing.
yeah, it's kind of, in a sense, it's kind of cool seeing people, seeing the mythology being made up in front of your eyes when you know the actual story. It's kind of cool, but on the same note, it's just like, huh, this is how stuff gets misconstrued.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like it was so much different before the internet. It just was.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm not going to do the. It was better. It was better in some ways. It was way worse in others.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sheer level of shock boredom there was almost 24/7, unless you were able to just really control how to entertain yourself. It was just maddeningly dull at times. Now you've just got so much stuff coming at you. It's the exact opposite now. It's just, you have the literal, now you're completely desensitized to having stuff available all the time. You know, which, what a weird problem to have, you know.
Well, it's like, we laugh now because it's like how when we were growing up, when we were the 20-somethings and the aughts and all that stuff, with cable television, how we would say, you know, it would be really awesome if we had the ability to pick and choose whatever channels we want, and be able to watch what we want and see, and not have to pay for all the stuff that we don't want. And now that we have it,
Well, it is, again, it's still much better than it was. Like, old friend of mine was like, do you remember how cool it was going to Blockbuster or movie rental videos and blah, 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 and yada, yada? And yes, I have good memories of doing that. But why would I want to go back to that when we have almost any show, potentially any show that I want to see? I just have to find it, maybe even have to pay for it, maybe, but I can still just get to it.
yeah,
Instead of, you have to go looking for stuff, and oh, it's out, and oh, by the way, you got to get it back in 2 days, or it's $25 a day, or some horrific amount of money. And, you know, it's just like, no, I'm good. I don't want to go back. I just don't.
I think there's one way of thinking about it. The nostalgia culture is just absolutely crazy right now in this time period, because you have people our age and a little younger or so just talking about the before times and all.
The before
times. And then you have the people who are growing up now hearing about that stuff, and
some of it was neat,
yeah,
but
and the thing
a lot of it wasn't.
And the thing is, they can, like, unlike us with our parents and the generation before us, they had pictures, they had videos, so we had a sense of what it was like. But like nowadays, everything is like in 4H, like 4K HD. You can now you can almost reach back and touch the past because
We can bring this back to the Dirty Pair. I can get you the
Yeah.
opposite of what we're talking about here. They just did the Blu-ray release of Dirty Pair. They rescanned it all back in because fortunately Dirty Pair was shot on film,
right.
yada yada. Okay, so how is it better in the old days if now we can get it in 4K? Well, I tell you, it's very simple. And yes, I would prefer to have it this way in 4K, but we don't. The lawyers walked into all the single frame jokes and references of characters that the animators put into the show because they were bored and having fun. The new scanned HD version, it's all gone.
Yeah.
There's stuff literally missing on the screen because the lawyers were like, oh no, you can't have blank. The guys from the studio that still owns Akira, we can't have Tetsuo in the background or whatever.
Right.
And I saw some of the sample shots, and the sample shots I went, oh God, this you've removed some of the fun.
Right.
You've removed some of it. Why would you do that? I'm not saying that that's great because it has references to other stuff, but it's part of the experience.
Yeah.
You're taking some of my art away from me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so some lawyers can be happy.
Yeah.
Lawyers have money. They're already going to be happy. Give me my cartoon.
Well, it's not just the lawyers. It's the property owner or the not the property owners, the people who owns the right owners to the various licenses that are in there and stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't used to care. That's my point.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
That's
It's like
my
before
point.
it was kind of like a unmentioned agreement of giving shout outs to your various homies and stuff.
Yeah, it's
you
like-
do that with your various animation studios and all.
And the thing is I think the version that I am watching on Retro Crush is the HD version, meaning it's that version. And I still spotted stuff. I saw Vampire Hunter D in the background of one of the shots. And he even had a giant D on his goofy Vampire Hunter D hat. So I don't think they got all of it, but the shots where you're like, oh. It just in the old days, they just were like, oh, we're just going to have fun. Who cares? Like the Project A-ko movies,
Oh,
the single
gosh.
frame jokes in the Project A-ko movies
Yeah.
are wow. Some of it is nearly pornographic, where you're going like, wait, what was that? Click, 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 click. I saw something flash on the screen. You know, and now it's just like everything has to be so safe and so legalized. And
And not only that,
and I'm
but
not
it's-
saying we should be nasty and illegal and crazy or what. I'm just going like, it just feels like it's going a little too far
Well,
in
it's
these
not only
cases.
that, but it's like everyone is just competing with each other instead of just having like giving a nod and a shout out to your fellow artist and stuff, or this person really inspired me. I'm gonna put a little quick joke of one of their properties into my thing because I really admire them. It's like you don't see that anymore because the minute you do that, or you're in copyright infringement,
Yeah.
and it's just like no one. There's very little nods anymore, and one of the few.
Because everyone's scared to do it.
Yeah, one of the few ones that I saw was the show OKKO, done by the husband of Rebecca Sugar of Steve Universe, Ian James Quarterly, and his show OKKO, they actually put other people's properties in there, and had fun with it. Like there was Sonic the Hedgehog. There was an episode with Sonic the Hedgehog, literally in there.
Nice.
Yeah. There was a couple other, other properties that they put in there because they're just like, we're just having fun. We like this stuff and we want to show people that we like it, and it's not like we're claiming it for our own. We just
Have fun with it.
yeah. They.
And the thing is, I don't want people to be in a situation where they're like, why don't you let me use your character, blah, 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 you big jerk. But I mean, sometimes it's like, you do like what anime used to do, where there would be like, a character is like on a poster in the background or whatever, and clearly the animators were in like hour 18 of their shift, and they're shaking and smoking, and they've got that dead look in their eyes, and they just want a moment of joy, and they're gonna like, okay, you see the strip joint in the background? I'm putting Lum in the featured girls poster. And you're just going like, and the guy next to him is like smoking and shaking because he's at the also, he's like, dude, that's awesome. It's like, it's like, it doesn't hurt anything. These poor guys, give these poor guys their,
I mean, even
they're fun.
even like Disney itself, like they can't put Mickey into their own cartoons unless it's a starring Mickey cartoon. It's like with DuckTales.
It's so stupid.
When Donald had the Wilson Mickey watermelon, it's like that was the only way they could actually get Mickey into the show, because they could not get the rights to their own character.
That's what I'm saying. Show. It's absurd. It is just period absurd. It's like, no, I'm sorry. That's
the right kind of Mickey for the right kind of show.
I'm just like, this is just too far, guys. These are cartoons. These are cartoons. Have fun. And then someone's gonna go, well, actually, it's very important. Yeah, okay, you've grown up. You need to stop. Cartoons.
When one company has so much power that they're writing the rules of how things may go, it's like, no, that's bullcrap.
Yeah, I'm not real happy with Disney about that.
Oh,
and honestly, with a couple exceptions, a lot of what Disney does is not impressing me anymore at all.
Well,
like the quality is, but
if within the next 5 to 7 years, if certain suits go through, their public domain stuff is going to get hit real hardcore.
Because I was about to say, I feel like doing me some Mickey artwork. Because I'm at a point where I'm going like, the only thing holding me back is the legal end of it. I don't want to be breaking the law on this stuff. But I'm also like, Mickey should be public domain at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Period. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Again, they were powerful enough to write the rules for that stuff, and it was, and I gotta find the article. I was actually reading it, and the article that I found while I was reading, basically the laws that Disney wrote for themselves to keep them from going into public domain has basically written themselves in a corner. And it's like if these laws, if some like I said, within the next 5 to 7 years, because of their own what they did, something's going to happen where everything's going to, the majority of their main characters are going to fall into public domain by push or by shove, because it was something that they did where they didn't think about how the future was going to happen. They just went, no, we're going to do this for the next 75 to 100 years. It's going to be us. And some lawyers are just like, oh, really? Well, this clause and this clause and this clause right here basically said that because of what you're doing right now, you're now going to lose the public rights to a lot of this stuff, or the private rights to a lot of this stuff. So I gotta find it again, but I was just like, huh.
Yeah, because I'm curious when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I've got characters I'd really like to do, but they're too new and they're not going to be public domain for ever. But some of the old school characters are good characters, and you could do interesting things with it. And I'm looking forward to some Goofy, because Goofy's a great character. I don't care what anyone says. I love Goofy.
Oh yeah.
Mickey can be a great character if they pull their heads out of their butts, because Mickey has had really funny cartoons in the past. But Disney is, their head is so far up their butt, it's just criminal.
The grip they have on Mickey is to try and keep him as their poster boy. It's like what we were talking about early in the day today. It's like there's 3 different types of Mickey. There's the public, there's the parks, the Disney World, Disneyland, the parks Mickey, the cartoons Mickey, and then the public merchandise Mickey. And it's like those 3 are literally 3 different types, and they have holds on what you can and can't do with those particular types. Like the park Mickey, he is designed to be as boring and as bland as possible, because he represents what Disney World is supposed to be. And so it's like you can't do anything.
Safest place on earth.
Yeah. And then the various, like the cartoon Mickey or the animation Mickeys, those have been getting a lot better with the Mickey shorts that's been playing over the past 4 or 5 years, and those are amazing. and they've been getting away with a lot of stuff with him. I mean, there was one shot where Mickey was looking out a window, and his towel falls off, and you just see Mickey butt.
See, that's what I mean. It's a cartoon. Have fun with the cartoon. Stop taking this stuff so seriously.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon.
Like, y'all, like you made him for entertainment, right? Well, then entertain us.
My life's work, the stuff that I really care about, is cartoons. And I'm saying stop taking it so seriously. Have fun with it. And no, it is not all for kids.
No.
But stop taking it so seriously. For God's sake. Okay. That's not bad. It's considerably better than the last K I
It's
did.
really nice.
All right.
I love the hairline you did with her.
Yeah, I think that turned out much nicer. It has a much better flow than the last one I did. The last one I did was okay. All right. Oh, I got it. No, I got to do the thing because at some point in time we're going to figure out how to grow some kind of a community or something. So I'm going to give her a shot. All right.
Gotta make our money.
Boom. Do you want a schedule of upcoming episodes and links to missed episodes sent to your email? Then go to supersecretprojectx.com/ericart and sign up for my newsletter at the bottom of the page. And there we go. Are we back? Are we back? We're back. There we are.
I'm back there.
I'm back, baby. All right, so as is tradition in this show, and I did not plan this. I'm just kind of a beautiful combination. As is tradition, when two characters are facing each other in my sketchbook, sealed for eternity, face to face, locking lips. Kay from the Dirty Pair.
She's not looking too happy about the situation.
Meet Betty Rubble. That is some weird cave woman, space lady,
The future meets the past.
lip locking action right there. The future meets the past. You have that right. Oh,
Fan fiction. Go for it.
I'm not entirely sure that's one that would make sense, but doesn't matter.
Wait, let my fan fiction skills do this one. Yes, it can, because you have Betty Rubble, and it was the whole thing where the Flintstones meet the Jetsons, and then the Jetsons somehow get there, like with the 30 pair in the future, you know, and...
To be fair, the Jetsons are awfully close in some ways to the Dirty Pair. I'm not saying perfectly, I'm just saying you might have something there. You might have something there.
Just saying.
Yeah, that's why I married you. Lashida might have something there, Waylon.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Yes.
everyone have yourself a good